So good morning and welcome to Wellspring. Good morning. There we go. All right, it's such a beautiful day in the neighborhood, as I heard last Sunday's talk was. My name is Edward Burrowbaugh, and I'm part of your Sunday service team today, and I'm happy to be of service. We'll start out with a few announcements. First of all, as many of you know, we have something that's called early birds. That's because we get up and we meet early. 9:30 for those of you who are night birds. At any rate, right now we're studying the book Who Dies by Levine, and we always have lots of conversation and discussion about the topics that we read. Yes, today our speaker is Brian Kurtz, which we've heard before. It's not a repeat of what he told us before. If you recall, he did a workshop after that Sunday service and so forth. I do apologize that we're having technical difficulties with our Wi-Fi. Hopefully you get to hear us, even if you don't get to see the slides. Next Sunday, our speaker will be me. And in July, we have, on the 7th, I'll be speaking, and then we have Reverend Sandy, Reverend Kamatara will be back, and on the 28th, we have Jean Geringer speaking. Our Thursday evening group continues to meet in the social hall at 6:30 and also on Zoom. If you wish to join us on Zoom, for example, you can get a hold of Cleona or me, and we'll give you the Zoom coordinates, as we call it. Well, we're kind of moving along here. The labyrinth is slowly coming along, but thank you for those who have contributed rocks so far. If you happen to find some rocks that are about 6 inches in diameter, you can bring them in. Right now it's kind of warm to be building a labyrinth, but we're collecting the rocks out here underneath the pergola. And I'm just going to read what somebody has written here for me. It says, we need a lot of rocks. So rock on. Thank you, Judy. Judy 1, I think that was. Yeah. We have 3 Judys in the house today. Yeah. And they're kind of close together, so we don't know what's going to erupt from back there. And lastly, on a more serious note, our prayer team remains ready to serve and support you. And we have forms in the back here that you can fill out, and please give those to me. And otherwise, we also have a form on the website. You can fill that out, and it sends an email to me. And I take our requests with me to our 4:15 on Tuesday prayer session. And we also suggest that if you have submitted a prayer request, that you might want to sit in your quiet space at 4:15 on Tuesdays, because you know that the energy of prayer is going to reach out and touch you as well. Because we believe that, we know that. We are one in spirit, and the energy of the prayer knows no limits. And before I do our invocation, I just want to mention that James Hampton, who many of you know, is in the hospital right now, and he's suffering respiratory distress. It's been something that has happened over the past week, in which he did have a pacemaker installed and then had some other issues. Went back to the hospital yesterday, and this morning he's still having respiratory difficulties. So we've had a busy week, and several of us were there last night with him. He was very cogent, coherent. His wife Jan said that as he was being treated, that he probably had spoken more and more clearly with us than he had for several days. And on the other note, Well, let us just hold them in prayer today. No other notes at all. So let's go to our invocation. So as we breathe in, we know that we are breathing spirit in, and that spirit is really a piece and a part of who we are already. But yet that breath in is an acknowledgement and a welcoming and an affirmation that spirit is here today in this very room with each and every one of us, working through each and every one of us, speaking through our speaker to our ears, and aiding us in hearing exactly what it is we need to hear today. And through our musicians, the words that are spoken or sung by our musicians, we know that music touches a place within our souls. So we open ourselves as we prepare for the rest of today's service, knowing that we are here right now in this very place with a purpose, on purpose. So we give thanks for the participation of everyone here in the physical and elsewhere, otherwise, and those who cannot be here. We know that they are also included in this invocation. And so it is. And now please stand if you are able for our song of joy. Some of you know this from before, and this is the song, I Am the Thinker. And now, please read with me our vision, mission, and affirmation. And those of you who have trouble seeing the screen up here, it's also on the little sheet of paper. It says Wellspring, June 2024 on the front. So first, our vision, to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. And our mission, to support individual spiritual quests through study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. And our affirmation, with summer's full heat upon us, We affirm the cool breeze of spirit is flowing in, through, and around us. We know that we are surrounded with spirit in all that we do, and so it is. Oh, thank you all. And now we have our wonderful musician we always love to hear from, Doug Adams. Welcome.
I wanted to write a song about courage. And so I just started taking notes. It was something I had the intention of writing a song about courage. And I started just by writing notes, little thoughts that I was having, and I found out that almost every thought about courage I had was related to fear. There was something to be afraid of, so that's when you needed the courage. Anyway, this is what I came up with. I feel I'm being hunted, but I don't know who is chasing. I'm staring down my fears, but what is it I'm facing? The threads of my former lives are now all interlacing. The full moon at my window has me on the tiles pacing. I think it's going to take some time to get down to the bottom. My misdemeanors and my crimes, I comfortably forgot 'em. All my T's and all my I's, I'm trying to cross and dot them. At the rate I'm going, I won't be done by autumn. Take courage, stand tall. Even though the hounds surround you and you can hear them call, take courage. It's been said of old, take courage. Fortune favors the bold. I know that I belong here, and everything's in time, and everything's a symphony, a master score sublime, and everything is living, and everything is love. And so it is down underneath, and so it is above. When they try to make you crawl, when they slam you to the wall, when you have to face the pain, lost in the frozen rain, or out in the desert dry, beneath a searing sky, call on your love for everything. Raise your vibrant voice to sing, have courage. Even though you feel the fear, take courage. Though you've heard the end is near, every end is a beginning. Every night begets a day. Take courage. Be on your way. Take courage. Stand in your holy light. Don't trick yourself to think that it is only fight or flight. Take courage in your castle or cave. Practice like a violin, the art of being brave. Take courage. Thank you.
Oh, Doug, fantastic. His songs just keep getting better and better. And we really appreciate it. I assume this was a world premiere?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, yes. Fantastic. Can we give him another hand? Oh. So today's reading is from May Science of Mind magazine, the daily reading. And I didn't want to bring the whole book, so. And this, it starts out, the author of this, he says, I've been around the church block a time or two, and I can feel pretty confident in my understanding of certain spiritual concepts. Wholeness is one of these. My previous understanding of wholeness included a need to fix or heal or put together something that was broken to make it whole again. What I didn't realize was that this understanding didn't even break the surface of the truth encompassed in this 9-letter word, wholeness. We can be tempted to look at our experiences and put them into categories: the good, the bad, the pleasant, and the unpleasant. The give me more of this, and the I don't want any more of this, if I can help it. Then we live our lives based on the quantity of things in any of these categories. What if we flipped the process on its head and chose to look at each experience as a part of our wholeness? That, in essence, is the prize of wholeness. Each experience nudging us further and deeper into a radical understanding of our true nature. We are like containers of well-used Play-Doh, colors mixed up, a little lumpy, and a little fuzzy from whatever we picked up along the way. We are beautiful and unique and reflective of the totality of our experience. Instead of striving for some secret formula that for 1995 will make us whole again, we are called to recognize that all of our fabulous parts, those we love and those we would rather not have anyone see, are wholeness. We can save our money knowing that we already have all we need. So today, our speaker, who has been here before, is Brian Kurtz, and it's a great honor to introduce you again, and I'm sure he has something interesting to say. We read his book in our Early Birds group, and it was kind of a test run to see if we were really going to like what he had to say. We did. We invited him. He came back, he has now come back, but the first time he came, he actually did a workshop after service. So we had, I think, 12 people who were in the workshop, and everyone was absolutely, I was going to say floored in a good way at what we learned of ourselves. So I'm sure what he has to say today will be enlightening as well. So Brian, please come forward.
Thank you. Hear me okay? Good. So, I don't know if you'll find this interesting or not. It may really kind of upset some of you. Get over it. Because the part of you that may get upset is the part that we're really going to cover today. And thank you so much for that song. Just really powerful. Thank you. You'll hear more from Doug in a bit. So, how many people know about the Adam and Eve story? How many people have read that Old Testament? Peace. Okay. How many people have been made upset by the Adam and Eve story? How many people have felt abused by the Adam and Eve story? Okay. So I grew up Jewish and Reformed Jew, which basically meant we don't do dogma. Reformed Jews basically said, yeah, there's these 613 rules, but we're going to pick the ones we want to honor, and that's going to be between God's Spirit and us, and that's where we're going to come from. Well, that was kind of a foundational piece for me. And then I became a born-again Christian. And the thing was, I had this experience one night at 2:30 in the morning where I came to know that this Jesus thing was for real. The problem was I had always despised Christian dogma and did not want to be associated with it. So what was I going to do? So I ended up, it's a long story, but the bottom line is I got to know the love that Jesus talked about. And I read that there was only one commandment Jesus ever gave, and that was love God. And the second part, which he said is the same as the first part, is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now, if you look at the Adam and Eve story, it almost contradicts the love yourself and love others and all. Like, how do you do that and still live with the Adam and Eve story? So I'm going to give you my version of the Adam and Eve story, okay? So you got God, and God says, okay, I'm going to create this thing out of some dirt, and I'm going to call it Adam, and Adam is the Hebrew word for dirt, just so you know. And then I'm going to pull a piece of Adam and make Eve out of it. And okay, Adam, Eve, I'm God. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to this place called the Garden of Eden. Everything here I made just for you. It's perfect. The ground here is so soft, you won't even need a bed to lie down on. The weather here is so perfect, you don't even need to wear clothes. Just be here, be fruitful, and multiply. Oh, I've given you body parts. You're going to love being fruitful and multiplying. You're going to want to do it all day. You're going to have a great time. Everything about this place is perfect. Now, there's one catch, though. See that tree over there? That tree has fruit. Do not eat the fruit of that tree, because if you do, that tree contains the knowledge of good and evil. I don't want you to have the knowledge of good and evil. Stay away from the tree, okay? Well, they're human, so... Oh, and then there was this snake that came in. Because, they had to pick a snake because a little cute puppy wouldn't have worked, right? So it's like the snake comes in, he's talking to Eve. It's like, hey, Eve, you really need to try that stuff. Oh, God told him, no, really, it's good. But God, no, go ahead. And then so she has some, and she has the knowledge of good and evil. Then she gives some to Adam, and Adam eats the fruit, and then Adam has the knowledge of good and evil. Next thing you know, they both have the knowledge of good and evil. And then they realize, well, we're not wearing any clothes. Is that good or evil? Ooh, must be evil. We better go hide, right? So then they kind of cover and grab a fig leaf or whatever they might have had, And then it's like, well, gee, wait a minute. We did exactly what God told us not to do. We must be evil. Oh, no, now what? So they go run and hide behind a bush or something, and about that time, God comes in, because, God's God and sees everything, and, hey, Adam, Eve, how's the first 5 minutes in the garden going? She made me do that, and now we're cold and naked, and, we're bad, and all of that. From what? For what? Because of what? So here's the thing. People who want to run your life and guilt trip you will tell you, you are made of the same stuff as Adam and Eve. They're bad and evil, therefore you must be bad and evil. That's a pretty heavy thing to lay on somebody. Well, I'm going to give you a little bit different version. How about knowledge, which starts here, good, evil. Good, evil, right, wrong, up, down, you, me, us, them. It's an inherently separative, divisive thing. God was, I think, saying, don't eat from that, because if you start letting this run the show, you're in trouble. Because the brain operates like a hard drive in a computer. It separates everything from everything and categorizes and sorts and analyzes so that it can save it for later. It's like the memory bank, literally. But the problem with that is in dividing everything, it's inherently incapable of knowing oneness. of knowing unity. Oh, why is that important? Okay, where's God? Anybody? Everywhere. Is there anywhere God's not? Okay, so if God is everywhere in everything, where does God have to go? Nowhere, because God's already everywhere. So if that's the case, God is operating in stillness. If God is in you, you're a part of that. You're a part of that oneness. You and you, yeah, even me. We're all part of the oneness. We're all in a oneness. Science has shown that if you split a photon in a cyclotron and you separate them by miles apart, they still operate as if they're connected. Not like cause and effect, but like still connected. That's science, which implies that since the beginning of the Big Bang, everything that's ever spread out is all still together in a oneness, and that there is no separation in the oneness. I do healing and energy work. I work on people hundreds of miles away sometimes. How do I do that? I'm connecting in the oneness of my essence, of my essential nature, of my soul. But the brain is inherently divisive. What do we do with that? What we do is nothing. Who we be is the awareness that we are. Not the awareness that we have, the awareness that we are. In the awareness that we are, we can notice that we have a brain that's going 1,000 miles an hour all day, and it separates everything from everything, us from each other. We label and categorize and analyze. If I say gay, binary, non-binary, black, white, Hispanic, what is all of that? It's labels of fellow human souls that are connected in the oneness. How do you think that's going to work? Right? So this Adam and Eve story that we've been handed was originally, I think, written to tell people knowledge, good, evil. No, don't operate from here. You can use that. I need that to run my navigator to remember how to get here. But I can't connect to anyone if you're separate from me. If you and I are different, separate, and every label we apply adds another layer to the separation. And the layer is error. What is sin? Ooh, sin. Talk about a word, right? The word sin didn't even exist until the Middle Ages, and it was an archery term to determine, here's the bullseye. If your arrow didn't hit the bullseye, the distance between where the arrow hit and the bullseye was known as the sin. It's just a distance. It's a miss, just a near miss. Now, if I was shooting the arrow, it'd be a big miss, and the way I've lived my life has been a lot of big misses. But from that, I learned. As we make mistakes, we learn. So a lot of this stuff we lay on ourselves and on each other is generated by this thing. In my book, by the way, this is all chapter 5 in my book. If you want to get the book, here's a little sales pitch for the book. Access the Real You. So the thing is, in that separation, we separate ourselves from each other, we separate ourselves from spirit, from our divine nature, and we begin to believe falsely in something besides the allness, the oneness. Dr. David Hawkins talks about our eachness in the allness, because each of us is a unique divine emanation of spirit, and yet we're like the puzzle piece. You know, you got a puzzle, it's got 1,000 little pieces, and as you put the pieces together, you can kind of see how it all comes together. Once you've got it all together, if there's a piece missing, how noticeable is that piece? You're a missing piece if you're not in part of the oneness. Every one of us is valid for whatever it is we bring. Everybody. No one is not valid. We're all important. So the challenge then becomes, can we drop enough of this to connect, to make eye contact? In the I, capital I contact, can I get this enough connected to your connected piece that we can be in that oneness, that namaste piece? Now, what happens if we're letting the brain run the show? Well, I know I got my stuff. I can know all of my stuff that's not the way I prefer. In my book, I talk about a point A, which is what's so. Can't change that. But then there's a point B, which is a comparison that I'd prefer instead of point A. And everything that is an issue, and who's got issues? Yeah, the rest of you are lying, all right? So we've all got issues, and what an issue is I got, well, what's so, and what I'd prefer instead. Point A, point B. Can't do anything with point A, but I can notice what the point B is about, and why is that a point B for me? What's my brain doing about that I can work on? And in the book, I'll go into a structure on how to work with all of that, but the point is to be in the awareness that you are. You can then take a look at, okay, internally, gee, I wish I was this or that, or I wish my nose was smaller. What so is I got a big nose. What I'd prefer instead is that I wish it was a little smaller. I didn't wish it had big veins on it that got kind of weird and got bumps on my head and, oh, baldness. You know, whatever that stuff, we all have whatever it is we have. Can we be okay with that? And the degree to which we can't be okay with that and accept ourselves as who we are and love ourselves as who we are. Remember the love your neighbor as you love yourself. Easy to love your neighbor. Loving yourself, not so much. Part of the work I do with people when I'm doing counseling and guidance work is I have them look in the mirror at themselves. How many people would like to look in the mirror in themselves? Right, exactly, right? So when you look in the mirror at yourself, you're being with your essence coming back at you. As opposed to being with that, it feels like it's coming back at you. Notice that. Notice the self-doubt, the self-hatred, the self-loathing, and work toward self-love and self-forgiveness. And then look out. What labels are we applying to everyone around us? Their hair, their eyes, their glasses, their clothes, their whatever other label we can put on them. It's all separation, and none of it works. It's all counterproductive. Look at what's going on in American politics. I don't want to talk about it a lot here, but what I will point out, and may be obvious to some and not so obvious to others, the degree to which someone can label someone else successfully is the degree to which we, if we're hearing that, will separate them from us. Or join them to us. Ooh, I agree with that, therefore I'm going to embrace that. Equally in error. If what we're doing is being a reaction to that thought about separation and label and that will, oh, well, that's good, well, that's bad. What's good and bad? It's duality consciousness. The nature of good, evil, and the reason God wanted them to stay away from that tree was because good and evil is inherently a divisive, dualistic thought, which is not oneness. The oldest prayer in the Jewish prayer book that's spoken at every service is, "Hear this, Israel, the Lord our God is one." That's what it's all about. And that kingdom that we are all a part of is forever. Beyond time and space, we are fellow human souls occupying physical space for a while. I tell people, notice the thoughts your brain is generating. Because if you're noticing the thoughts your brain's generating, you're separating the real you, as I call it, from the brain chatter. And grounding yourself in this other place, which is inherent stillness, while this thing's moving 1,000 miles an hour. And how do we get to the stillness? By noticing what's not still. It's really counterintuitive, but it works. That's the core thought of the book. That's the core thought of all of the teaching I do. You are not your brain chatter. You are the noticer of it. And when you're noticing it, you can be in the place of all of that awareness that's available. Well, but how do I? What's asking the how do I is the problem. Because this wants to know where, when, why, how. This already knows. And it knows that it knows. But can we trust that? How many times have you come to a fork in the road and this said, ooh, do I go left or right? And this said, you know which way to go. How many times when we don't trust that, does life kick our butt? Every time, right? And the thing is, as life's kicking your butt, you got a choice. You can either say, man, I screwed up. Or you can go, oh, I'm off center. I think I need to work my way back. If life's kicking your butt, don't make yourself bad, good, evil, right, wrong. Just acknowledge it, own it, take responsibility for it, because you are able to respond, and respond. And if you notice you've been a reaction, God only knows I've got them. I still got them. Somebody says something, boom, out comes a reaction, right? Usually not very nice. I've got friends who can vouch for that. And some people who are no longer friends who can vouch for that, okay? But the point is, if you can be aware of who you're being at any given time, and you can apply that self-love and self-forgiveness, life gets a lot better. And lo and behold, when I'm living more in that place of oneness and connection and self-love and self-forgiveness, it's easier to love and forgive everybody else. Which is why when Jesus was confronted by the smart aleck in the square, and when he was soon to be going through what he had to go through, hey, Rabbi, what's the number one commandment? Well, there's 613 in the Old Testament. He knew he was going to try and trip Jesus up. So he said, love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul. That's also part of the next prayer that follows that prayer about being one in every Jewish prayer book. So he knew if I drop that on him, that's going to shut him up. Then he added the same as the first. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Because he knew that the guy would have nothing to say to that. I'll give you one more piece, because it's part of the separation thing that we do with our brains. The Old Testament is said to have 613 commandments. People refer to the Torah as the law. I had a rabbi tell me, I'd never heard this. 40 years in, I'd never heard a rabbi say, no. The word Torah means the teaching. Imagine the inherent difference. Because if you break the law, like you're going down the road at 67 and a 65 and a cop pulls you over, and you may not like it, but it's an absolute. You cross the line, you're 67 and a 65, you broke the law. But if it's a teaching, oh, hey, dude, you're going a little fast. Can you slow it down? Yeah, thanks, officer. Get back on the road. But we don't operate with that. If it's the law and we break it, even if we just fudge a little bit, yeah, all right, I know I broke that law, but yeah, I broke the law, and down in there, it's like, man, I broke the law. But if it's a teaching, oh, okay, what did I learn from that? I made an error. What did I learn from that? If you haven't learned anything, go back and take a look at what you might be able to learn from that. This thing operates all day, but you are not that, you're this, and you can learn from whatever your brain's doing. And if your brain's been pumping out chemicals that hit your body, you can look in your body and go, okay, what can I learn from that? I do chakra work where there's regions of your body. And each of those regions of your body corresponds to a different life aspect and a different way of being that you can work on and learn from. I can look around at my life circumstances. If something shows up that I didn't like, boy, I screwed that up. Or, oh, what can I learn from that? Same circumstance, different way of being, different place of awareness. So this tree that Adam and Eve were told not to eat from, that's why. If you're operating from this, good, evil, right, wrong, up, down, you, me, us, them, Democrat, Republican, gay, straight, binary, non-binary, whatever. Bald, has hair, gray, beard, no beard, whatever label and thing you can notice, your brain's gonna do something with it, but you're not the brain, you're the noticer of it. You're the awareness becoming aware of itself. Operate from that. Thank you. Now we're going to connect in that oneness. What I want you to do is to close your eyes and take 4 deep breaths. In to 5, out to 8, 4 times. In to 5, out to 8, 4 times. Now, from this more peaceful place, feel comfortable in your chair. Feel the chair supporting you. Feel your presence in the chair. Feel your presence that's beyond your body in the chair. And start to expand your awareness a little bit and feel into the people next to you. And keep spreading that awareness out and feel more people around you. And spread your awareness a little bit more and feel the room. And now spread your awareness a little more and spread out into the area around our building. Feel that. Notice that you can be in that level of awareness of the space around you, in the oneness that is already. And now bring your awareness a little closer, back to the building, back to some other folks around you, and back to you. It's not about pieces, it's about oneness. And in the awareness that we are, we can feel that. It's available. When we feel separate from, when we feel less than, when we feel inadequate, what we're experiencing is a noticing, an awareness that says, I am not that, and that may be just fine that you're not. Each of us is our own unique divine emanation of spirit. If we feel separate from, notice that and connect in the awareness that you are. If you see someone that you don't feel comfortable with, see if you can make eye contact. See if you can feel into that person with the awareness that you are connecting to the essence of who they are. And then if you make eye contact, you'll be amazed at how much more connected you'll feel as opposed to separate from. Now open your eyes, come back into the room, look around. And notice that this is available. This is available outside of this room. This is available at home. This is available at the grocery store. This is available driving down the highway, especially when someone cuts you off in traffic. Some minister told me, you get to find out how good a Christian you are when someone cuts you off in traffic. Are you calling God in to bless somebody? You're calling God in for something else, right? The point is, you can be a reaction generated by this, or you can be a response generated from here. This knows. This thinks. I'm not saying don't think. I'm just saying be aware that sometimes thinking will get you into a little trouble. And that's all a learning experience. This knows. Trust that. Thanks.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. no hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. That's coming. It's not hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday that you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
Well, I don't know if we could have asked for a better day, but why not just expect amazing as usual? So again, thanks to our musician and to Brian. Thank you. We'll give him another hand, maybe. Now it's time for our offering. Judy, would you mind bringing the basket forward? Hi, Judy. Thank you. We give thanks for these offerings that have been given from our hearts. We know that we are living in the flow, and these offerings are our acknowledgement that we are part of that flow, and this bounty, this abundance flows through us and through Wellspring and out into our community as well. So again, we give thanks for the service today. We give thanks for the participation of everyone here and those wishing they could be here, and our friends and family who may not be here. So it is. Thank you, Judy. We have some other gratitudes to speak of, and those are the folks who have made this today possible. We have Barry, who start with the front. And, and again, our musician, Doug, who continues to grace us with world premiere performances. And your YouTube videos are still coming along, aren't they? Okay, they're coming along. I know, okay. He does have, he put some videos of the songs that he's written for us on YouTube. So look it up, Doug Adams. You'll find them. And again, for our speaker, thank you. And in the back, we have Edwin, who's been manning the camera. Thank you, Edwin. And Cleona, who's been working, doing a yeoman's job as we deal with our slow bandwidth on the internet. And if you'd like to revisit to this or any other talks, you can always go to our website, wellspringnow.com, and there's a link there that says archives. You click on the archive and it's sorted by date and by year there. You can pop in and visit someone else's talk. You can go visit Brian's previous talk and any of the other speakers that we have on a regular basis. And we do have one of them here today, Reverend Sandy, who's been speaking for over a year now, once a month. Oh, there's so many folks that we owe a debt of gratitude to. Thank you all. And lastly, for those of you who have joined us in Zoom, you can stick along after, or stick on a little while after the meeting and visit. The rest of us will probably head over to the social hall where we have some coffee and goodies. And I understand that Brian would still be available for a couple of sessions this afternoon if you choose to have a healing session with him. A number of us have been through that over the last couple of days, and it's transformational, I think, is a way to describe it. So anyway, so please stand if you're able and read with me then the benediction, which will be followed by our congregational song, which is our peace song, and it will be projected up here, but if you can't see it up here, then you just look on the back of the little handout. It has the peace song there. So first of all, our benediction. Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us into the world. And so it is. And if you want to join hands throughout the sanctuary.